All right, ladies and gentlemen, coming up on this episode of Wrestling for Culture, I have a very special guest. You've seen her in Mission Pro Wrestling, FEW, and numerous other promotions, including All Elite Wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, coming up will be the one and only Miss Leila Grey. The Wrestling Realm presents Wrestling for the Culture, where we highlight pro wrestlers and pro wrestling personalities of color. Here's your host, Brian H. Waters. All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
How are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. So that's the first time I ran that intro and you're in it. So it was really cool to be able to finally get a chance to use it.
I'm like, there I
am. Well, we certainly want to celebrate everybody who's doing things in wrestling, especially, people of color. And, we obviously, as fans, it's a great opportunity to see everybody doing big things. So I'm, like I said, happy to have you on here.
Thank you. Thank you.
So first and foremost, it looks like we're coming towards the end of the pandemic, but how are you? How have you been coming along throughout this time?
I mean, I've been doing good. I've been staying focused, head in the game, training, working. The pandemic really has not slowed me down. If anything, I think it just gave me a nudge to go even harder, to be honest. So I'm excited that it's coming to an end, because that means a lot of great things are going to be happening. A lot of cool events are going to be taking place. So I am ready for that. But yeah, I've been great.
That's good. So you started last year around this time, correct?
Yes. Around this time was that I was getting ready to have my first match.
Yeah. So how has that been? Obviously things have been sort of restricted. How was you able to keep up like your training regimen? Because I'm gonna just go ahead and say it, like I've watched probably millions of matches in my lifetime, and I've been watching quite a few of yours. You do not look green. You look like you've been in the business for some years. So how have you been able to stay on top of your game?
Well, I really appreciate that. Well, like I said, the pandemic really did not stop me. I still train. I work a lot, so I'm out there, grinding every day. So that's how I've been able to keep up with it. I'm sorry, what was the question?
No, you was right on point.
I don't know. I don't want to get drifted. I don't want to drift away from what it was.
No, you.
My bad. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm still training, working hard, working a lot. So things have really not slowed down for me at all. So it's still easy to stay on top of what I'm doing right now. Okay. Especially, I'm in Florida. A lot of things here are kind of getting back to normal. So, there's not too many restrictions going on. A lot of shows are starting to take place. So it doesn't really feel like we're in a pandemic too much anymore.
Well, that's good. That's certainly good. What is your first pro wrestling memory? I did my research, and I know that you grew up watching it. What was your first pro wrestling memory?
My first pro wrestling memory, I just remember being really young. This was like late 90s. And I remember watching The Rock and China. I had a cousin who was really into wrestling, so he's the one that kind of put me onto it. He used to watch it all the time. So by default, we had to end up watching it as well. And I remember watching The Rock and watching China, and The Rock was just so like mesmerizing and just captivating, and the way he spoke, and the eyebrow and all the gimmicks. And I'm like, this is really cool. And then seeing China, I'm like, I've never seen a woman so strong and muscular. I feel like back then that didn't really exist too much, or at least I just wasn't aware of it. So just watching her, and I'm like, wow, this woman is so strong and powerful. And I would say from then is that I started to get inspired by wrestling. I'm like, these people are like superheroes. It's really cool.
Yeah. So, how long did you stay into it? Did you have a drop off? There's a lot of times people who have a drop off, especially right after the Attitude Era. Did you stay with it, or did you have a
Yes,
drop?
I would say yes. I did have a drop off. I didn't grow up really watching it in my teenage years or even early 20s. I wasn't watching wrestling anymore, but there was always something about it that I loved. Even after I had stopped watching it, I still enjoyed wrestling with my friends, like just for fun on the mattress. I was like evil. Like I just loved, kicking people's ass and pinning them. And I used to torture them and shove socks in their mouths. And
Oh
I mean, it was a
man.
lot of fun, like a true heel.
So was you more in the pound, or did you do a lot of submissions?
I would say submissions. I loved pinning. Yeah, and
Okay.
I would always catch everyone with the same pin. I'm like, how could you guys fall for it every time? So yeah, even though I wasn't watching wrestling, there was always something about it that I enjoyed. But let me say, I never ever really, really thought that I would end up doing this, and it's pretty cool how those childhood memories kind of foreshadowed what my life would be.
Yeah. Now, I know you went to college for broadcast journalism.
Uh-huh.
What made you kind of go away from that, if you don't mind me asking?
I wouldn't necessarily say that I went away from it. So I've
Mhm.
always loved entertainment. I've always loved performing. I'm a singer. I'm an actress. I've done modeling, music videos, a lot of things like that. So I just always liked being in front of the camera, being in the spotlight, which kind of led me to choose broadcasting as a career
Mhm.
path because I just loved being in front of the camera. So I decided to go into that, and I learned a lot from it. It was really great, and I learned a lot about video editing, putting together news packages. I actually studied abroad for a summer in Spain, and I got to do some news
Oh
work out
wow, that's
there.
pretty cool.
Yeah, oh my god, such a great experience. So yeah, that was only 4 years ago that I studied abroad. So then when I got into wrestling, a lot of people were actually surprised. I'm like, what? You're wrestling? That's so, left field from what we expected from you. But when you really think about it, I feel like all of these things go hand in hand. It's all entertainment. The acting, even though the broadcasting, we need to experience speaking on the mic and cutting promos. So even though I decided not to really pursue it at this time, I feel
Mhm.
like I've learned skills. I've developed skills that I can definitely bring into wrestling and then use later on when I'm done with wrestling and I'm ready to move on to my next passion. And I feel like it's still going to be something related to this and speaking and perhaps a podcast. And yeah.
Yeah, you kind of went into my next question. That was, what is, or maybe if you can name like one particular thing that you've been able to take from your broadcast journalism background and implement that into your wrestling and your character.
Something that I've been able to take. Well, I mean, just being involved in that radio world, it got me really used to speaking in front of a room and to people. So I feel like that actually helped a lot. And I feel like the Leila Grey persona was developing at that time during my radio time, because when I started doing radio, I was using the name Leila Grey as well.
Okay.
And so yeah, and I was working as a model and a radio personality. So I feel like the attitude and the persona was already developing there. So when I transitioned into wrestling, I kind of took some of that and brought it into this.
Yeah, because like I've watched some of your promos, and like I said, you're just natural with it. You could see that you have some confidence, because that's the main thing you want to do, is be able to sell your character and make people, put butts in the seats. And so
Yes.
you can clearly see that. Um, what's one thing when you got into this business, what's one thing that you've learned that you didn't know before? Obviously, you know, you grew up watching wrestling and you come from the broadcast journalism world, which I've always said. I was talking to Amber Rodriguez, shout out to her, about how wrestling and broadcasting, journalism in general, whether it's entertainment or news, they're so parallel. But what's one thing in the wrestling side that you've learned that you didn't know before?
Mhm. Well, I mean, I would say there's just so much more that goes into wrestling than I would have ever imagined. This is absolutely the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. There's so many elements that go into the worlds of professional wrestling. There is psychology. So not only is it, you know, extremely rough physically, also mentally, there's a lot of things that you need to learn when putting matches together that I never even thought of. You know, I like many people, I thought, oh yeah, you know, it's choreographed. You just go in there and, you know, you learn this and you do that, and it's definitely not that simple, not even close. There's, like I said, so many elements that go into it, and it's tough. It's way, way harder than I thought it was gonna be.
Well, you thriving certainly. Like I said, you know,
Yeah,
to be able to do this, especially during the pandemic, you know,
yeah,
because crowds aren't as big as they usually are. So, you know, you've been able to build a great following just via social media. And, you know, let's
yeah.
be real, there's plenty of beautiful people in wrestling, but after a while, it goes to, okay, can this person work or not, you know? And
Mhm.
you've been showing out. So I want to make
Thank
sure
you,
I
thank
give
you.
you your flowers.
And I mean,
So,
a lot of that I definitely owe to AEW. I would
mhm.
say. You know, when they first reached out to me, I'm still, you know, new. I'm still green. Still have a lot to learn, and I just kind of got thrown in the fire and just forced to learn. And I do enjoy seeing my progress throughout my matches. You know, just recently I was on my YouTube and I watched my first match, and you know, just seeing how far I've come, it's really amazing. And you know, sometimes I feel like I don't give myself enough credit, but I'm like,
Right.
man, you kicking ass.
There you go. You doing it. Speaking of AEW, how has being in, you know, we see you on camera, obviously in the ring, but also ringside. How has being at ringside helped you learn? Because you know you're getting a front row seat.
Yeah. Yes, we do get a front row seat at AEW, and I mean it's great. You learn a lot. You know, we're there ringside watching these matches. I get to see all of these wrestlers work and so many different people, even the extras. So I'm seeing a lot of different styles, a lot of different gimmicks, and you know, you're seeing all this stuff firsthand. So you pick up a lot of things, and I feel like that has helped me learn more and improve my in-ring work by watching these other professionals work and the things that they do and the way that they sell and the way that they move around the ring and their facials and you know how passionate they get about it. So definitely an amazing experience being there front row, and I'm definitely learning a lot being there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we talked about your broadcasting career earlier, and the reason why I'm bringing this back up because I want people to really understand like how much you know. You doing music, you can edit videos, you can talk. So what I'm seeing is hello, that's like a gym for any company. Have you thought about have you made your own interest videos? By the way, I listened to some of your music. Two songs I like, right way and lucky. Those are bangers.
Oh my God. Oh, thank you. You know, you surprised me because those are not the ones that I thought that you were going to say.
For real?
But
Which
that's
ones you
awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, thank you for checking that out.
No, look, I'm a journalist and I'm interviewing another journalist. I gotta make sure I do my research, or you
Yes,
know.
of course. Of
And so,
course.
and look, no, everybody do interviews. You know, it's no secret. And so
Yeah.
you just like same questions over and over again.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, like I said, I was listening to those, and you know, a lot of other songs. But have you ever considered like making your own? You know, your own interest video, your own interest, and putting it with your music or other songs.
Well, I haven't necessarily thought about doing my own entrance video, but I do want to create my own entrance music
Mhm.
and have my voice on there, have me singing to it. I That's definitely a goal of mine that I would like to achieve. I think that's gonna be pretty cool when I finally work that out. So yeah, I would definitely like to work on my own entrance music, sing my own music, and come out with it. And and it's all me.
Yeah, I mean, that way you get them two checks. You get the network checks and the wrestling check.
Yes, absolutely. And I love music. Music was my first passion. And I feel like music is also, what led me here. And music helped me create Leila Grey because my character, it's like she's a vixen, but she's a superstar, and that all stems from me being a music artist and being a performer, and I love singing and dancing and all the different artists that have influenced me. I put that all together to create Leila Grey.
Yeah, so who's been some of your musical influences?
So I love Selena. Selena was like my first love. She was the reason why I sing. So she inspired me to sing. I was about 5 years old when I found out about her, when I learned about her, and I learned her music. So she's definitely one of my biggest inspirations. I also love Aaliyah. I love Aaliyah. I bump Aaliyah all the time.
Me too.
I was listening to her earlier. So I
Yeah.
love Aaliyah. I also love Britney Spears. Oh my God, I used to put on so many concerts, Britney Spears concerts in my living rooms. So she definitely inspired me a lot. And I love Rihanna. Those four women right there, badass, talented, strong, really, really inspired me. Those are my all-time favorite artists.
I love it. I love it. So you're going to continue to do music while wrestling, correct?
Yes, I would like to. Although I'm not doing it right now, I'm really just, trying to focus on wrestling and get things really going. But, like I mentioned, music is my first passion, and it's not something that I just want to, give up. It's definitely something I would want to come back to. And once I get a little bit more established in wrestling, I'll start bringing in a little bit more music into it. And yeah, I'll be a wrestler, singer. I mean, there's a lot of people that do wrestling and music. So
Hmm. I mean, John Cena says,
yeah, John Cena, absolutely.
so yeah. So like, who's been like your inspiration in wrestling? Who's been like some of your mentors that, you want to shout out?
Some of my mentors. So La Rosa Negra. I
Oh,
definitely want to
definitely.
shout.
Legend.
Yes, I definitely want to shout her out. Oh my God. I owe a lot to her. She's been great, definitely a great mentor. I had the opportunity to train with her a little bit, and I've learned so much. She helped me with my entrance. So if you watch my entrances when I'm coming out to the music and stuff, she helped me put that together. So
Okay.
I owe her a lot of credit. Definitely a lot of credit goes out to her. I also want to give shout out to Soul Man Alex G, South Florida legend.
Hmm.
So he also helped me out a lot coming into the business, and gave me great advice. So shout out to those two people.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know you are a Knicks fan. How you feeling as far as them in the playoffs? They scored a huge one. We were
Yeah,
taping this.
so I've been so out the loop. It's so funny. I think I forgot who I was talking to recently, but I told them that I was a Knicks fan, and that's mainly because I'm a New Yorker. I'm from Queens, New
Mhm.
York, so I gotta represent. I've been to a lot of Knicks games, and like I said, I've been out the loop. I had no idea that they've been kicking ass lately. So I'm really, really proud of them because I thought that they were still sucking, and I'm like, oh,
They in the playoffs, like a
everybody's been
respectable
saying for
seed
years,
too.
huh?
I said they're in the playoffs, like I think they're the fourth seed. It's a respectable seed. So
Yeah,
they
yeah,
scored a
like
huge win.
they're doing really great. I was surprised. I thought the Knicks were still sucking. So I'm glad to see that they're not, because I'm always, always, no matter where I'm at, I'm always rooting for New York. So
Yeah. So what's the transition been like from New York to Miami?
oh, it's been great. It's
Mhm.
warm. I would say the weather was like the main thing that
Hmm.
that really pushed me to leave. I'm like, it is too cold here. I feel depressed. I
Oh
needed
man.
sunshine and just change in my life. So I was a big fan of Miami. I used to come all the time on vacations and to party. And I'm like, I really want to move over there. So it wasn't easy, but I did it. And you know what? I think it was the best decision that I could have ever made, because ever since I made that transition to Florida, my life has completely changed. My priorities have changed. And it's really allowed me to, just get away from everybody and just focus on my goals and my dreams. And yeah, and it's great. And Miami's great. It's a fun city, beautiful weather, beautiful beaches. I love being here.
That's awesome. So it doesn't take away now that you live there. Like, sometimes it's one thing vacation somewhere, but living there, it doesn't take it
Oh
away.
no. I don't think I'll be moving back to New York ever. I'm like, this is so much better. No, New York, but yeah, it's just a better quality of life over here. So, a lot of people, it's hard for New Yorkers, I feel, to settle down elsewhere.
Hmm.
Sometimes they move away and then they don't like it because, we're used to the fast paced lifestyle. And at first I didn't know this was temporary. At first, it was just for me to go to college. But after 2 years, and I graduated, and I'm like, I don't think I'm going back. So, yeah, I'm a Floridian now.
That's pretty cool. So
Mhm.
before we get out of here, just I got a couple questions for you. When you have a list of opponents that you haven't faced yet that you want to square up with?
A list of opponents.
Yeah, short term and long term.
Short term, I would like to work Red Velvet. So Red Velvet is somebody we kind of came up in the business together. She started a few years before me, but we had experience training together and working together, but we have not worked in the ring together. We haven't had a match together. So she's been doing her thing on AEW. I give her a lot of props, and it's exciting to see how far she's gotten. So she's definitely somebody that I would like to work with, as well as Thunder Rosa. So those are my AEW short-term goals, to have matches with them. Long-term, my favorite wrestler right now is Sasha Banks. So she's definitely somebody that I would love to get in the ring with and learn a lot from. I think she's incredible, super talented, she's very beautiful, and yeah, that's definitely a match that I would love to have.
Okay, so your dream match for Sasha Banks, we can have that the main event at a big show coming up soon, right?
Yes,
Let's
let's
speak it
let's
in.
speak it into existence. Exactly.
Exactly. And before we get out of here, so I do another podcast, but I'm gonna bring my question from that. It's called Breaking Through the Glass Ceiling. And I'm gonna ask you your breaking through the glass ceiling moment. And that's basically, what was the moment in pro wrestling where you realized, like, I'm pretty good at this? Like, what was your breaking through the glass ceiling moment? I know you've been, you're still new, but you've been doing so much. Like, you have tons of clips out there and you've been doing well. So what was your breaking through the glass moment?
Breaking through the glass moment would definitely have to be AEW. So, I made my debut. My official wrestling debut was in October of 2020. And in February 2021 is that they reached out to me. So that means I had only been out there working for about 5 months, 6 months. So very nerve wracking. A lot of things go through my mind. Am I ready for this? And I had to kind of just suck it up and go do what I had to do, not let this opportunity slip by, whether I thought I was ready or not. And just the fact that, people have been seeing me week after week. I would say that was kind of my breaking through the ceiling moment, because I'm like, I didn't know if I was ready for all of that yet. And the fact that everything has been going so great there, and I just been getting so much positive feedback from people, from fans, from workers, and important people in the business. I think that's when I realized, like, okay, I think I can do this. I think I can do this, because I really wasn't sure of how far I can go. It's not like I was wrestling since I was, 16 years old, like a lot of people. I
Mhm.
started later on in my life, later on in my 20s. So I really did not know what to expect. And the fact that all these amazing things have been happening this year, I think that's what proved to me, okay, you can do this.
Well, I certainly hope I'll be looking to see that Leila Grey is all elite graphic very soon, because you certainly deserve it. I'm being straight up. I wouldn't be sitting up here saying all this stuff if I didn't mean it, because then my wife and kids would kick me for lying. But I'm definitely a fan, and like I said, I appreciate you taking the opportunity to come on here. Right there, for those who are watching on YouTube, they can see where to find you, but let them know for the ones listening on the podcast platforms, and also let them know where they can buy your merch or support you financially.
Absolutely. So I sell my merch on social media. I sell autographed 8x10s. So you can message me, DM me on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, and we can go through there. So you guys can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Miss Leila Grey. That's MISS Leila Grey, LEILAGREY. Also, Miss Leila Grey on Facebook as well. Follow my fan page. And you guys could also find me on YouTube. Just type in Leila Grey and I should be right there, popped up. And just like and subscribe, people, please. Thank you so much for all your amazing support. And yeah, follow me. Hit me up for those 8x10s, guys.
Definitely hit up for those 8x10s. Before we get out here, anything else you want to say to the fans?
No, just thank you guys so much for your continued support. It truly means so much to me. Like I was talking about before, this is an extremely hard business to be in, and you guys just make it so much easier. Just the support from all the fans, you guys, all the wrestling podcasts. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. We definitely appreciate you coming on.
Yes, thank you so much for
having. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this week's episode of Wrestling for the Culture. For more episodes or more content from the Wrestling Wrealm Network, hit the subscribe button down low. Make sure you turn on the bell for notifications. Till the next time, too sweet.